Hi, I'm Monte, and welcome to the next exciting episode of Coke and Strippers, where you always get the full Monte. And today I've got a project in mind that's going to take lots and lots and lots of copper wire. Hold it, wait for it, wait for it. What are we going to build? Yes, you guessed it. We are going to build a wire spool rack. And not a little cheesy one, no, one that's suitable for the below ground layer. Contrary to public opinion, I am not perfect. And in particular, it is time for me to de-disasterize this space so that I may do proper justice to my hero here, Mr. Lex Luthor. I think maybe I can start with doing something with all of this wire. Ugh. I wonder what I could make this rack out of. If only I could ask some PhD out of University of Houston. I have no idea.
I know! Pick me! Pick me! Me! I got the answers! Me. Pick me. I'll show you. Pick me.
I guess I'm just going to have to make this up on my own.
All right, so we need some wire spool rack so that we can actually get to the wire, right? Not like having it up on this shelf and you can't even get to it. So I need to design something out of angle iron, probably a couple of sides. Maybe it needs a support in the back. And then we will put this pipe across it we can slide the wire on. And that's where our spools will go. And our spools will be able to turn. And if it needs more support, we can put these legs in the back to make it more stable. So it's time to get building in metal. That means not soldering, folks. That means welding.
Monte, where's your jacket, you may ask? Well, I don't want to get it messed up in the shop today, especially when I'm cutting metal pipe, and I also don't want the sparks on my arms. So, the shirt. I love this thin-walled conduit. It's great for all kinds of building, and in this case, it's going to be great for loading up some wire on here. That'll work.
So here is some angle iron, or otherwise known as bed rail. Yeah, I get this bed rail from Goodwill because it's cheap. It's hardened metal, which makes it kind of difficult to work with, but it's cheap and it welds. So yeah, this one's been out in the rain, but that just gives it some character. So we're gonna knock this bracket off the end. And then we'll have just angle iron that we could use to build our wire spool rack out of. Start by grinding the nubs off on the end, grinding the rivets off that hold this rail in place. So take the grinder to it and then the air hammer. Yeah, knock those rivets out after you grind them off about flat. Whoops, missed that one. Let's hit that one again. And there we go. Now we have a piece of angle iron that we can work with. So it's time to go over to the chop saw and cut some iron. Yeah, sparks flying. Get all the angle iron cut to size. Next, pieces of this conduit. Just sort of random pieces I had laying around. So I marked them off to the right length, and it's time to cut those as well. Let's just give them a shot.
We need to smooth these, get rid of the sharp cut-off edges. We'll grind them down.
And if you look over to the right, you will see the water bottle that is my fire extinguisher in case I set my wooden welding table on fire again. There's the American 6-inch bench grinder Made in China? Okay. Anyway, we're going to use those. I cut these flat steel pieces as well. They're what the bars are going to set on. So they had some sharp edges. We ground those off, and now they get welded to the sides of this angle iron. Use a little magnetic piece to hold them in place while I put on my brand new welding gloves. I don't know where my other gloves went. In any case, and we'll start by tacking them down, make sure it's square and where I want it. Then we'll come back and put a bead on there, a solid one. This is MIG welding, and it looks great on camera. But we're going to do sort of the same thing here, kind of tack the corners to hold it in place. As these welds cool, they will shrink, and it can pull your the thing that you're making out of squares, so forth. We'll tack it down, make sure it looks good. Then we'll come back and put a big solid bead across. Sort of like soldering, only not. No, solder is melting metal to go around other metal, and welding is we're melting all of the pieces here together and adding some filler material, some additional metal coming out of the MIG welder here. We've got to wear the face shield so we don't barbecue our eyeballs. Nice, pretty sparks flying. Putting a bead down, that looks pretty good, especially considering I don't have any shielding gas because I'm too cheap. So that's just no shielding gas included. Now, we'll get the feet of this rack set up. Those are where it's going to set. We'll put a bead across there, and oh, whoops, it looks like I set my table on fire. It's pretty hard to see stuff like that when you've got those got that mask on. It makes everything so dark, you really can't see the fires. I mean, I probably shouldn't be welding there where I have, notebook paper and plastic. And anyway, do as I say, not as I do. Find yourself a nice welding table or build you one. Wood probably isn't the best. And now finally, we need to blow just a little paint on there. First of all, we want to protect the welds, make sure that they don't rust up. And then just give it kind of a rough coat so that it looks like it belongs, right? This is a solid piece of finely crafted material.
That's what I'm talking about. That's strong. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pieces of metal. It's simple. That's exactly what we need in this lab. So now it is time to load it all up. And christen this project done. And there we go. That, my friends, is a work of art. And it was an excuse to clean up this entire shelf. While not entirely de-disasterized, it's much better than when it began, and a suitable tribute to Mr. Lex Luthor. Cool haircut, like me, only not as handsome. Thank you for spending a little time with me today. And remember, if you like this video, share it with a friend. If not, share it with an enemy. And in any case, spend all your money on coke and strippers. That right there is a thing of beauty. Just like that right there is a thing of beauty.